Today, I'm going to talk to you about energy poverty and energy prosperity. My name is Katherine Lucey, and I'm the founder of Solar Sister. Solar Sister is a social enterprise that is changing the way we do business in the energy sector. Energy is in and around and through all of our lives. We hardly notice it, it's so ubiquitous. But every day you flip the switch and turn on the light. Every day you open up your computer and access the world. It's an incredible invention. It's been around in the way we know it in this mass type of energy for over 100 years. About 130 years, Thomas Edison perfected the ability to bring light into our lives. And it has transformed our world. With energy, we live the way we do today. And we are so lucky. And yet there are a quarter of the world's population, 1.6 billion people in the world, who don't have access to electricity as we know it. My background was in banking, and I was building large-scale infrastructure power plants, raising financing, billions of dollars at a time, to provide people with energy. But one of the things that I saw was that the large-scale power plants I was providing, for one, no modern country could come into the modern era without access to electricity. It is so fundamental to development. But also I saw that the large-scale power plants were not providing power to so many people. They provided power to cities, to industries, and yet a quarter of the world's population still has no electricity. When I left banking, I decided to get involved philanthropically and to get involved in the sector that I knew, in electricity. And I started working with an organization in rural Africa that was putting solar panels. Solar is the most distributable power source that we have. It is a democratic power source in that we all live under the same sun. We all have access to free energy. All you need is the equipment to transmit that energy that comes down freely from the sky into something that you can use. And so we were working in rural Africa, putting energy on rural homes, clinics, schools, and I got to see at the household level, at the grassroots level, that energy is as important for development for a family as it is for a country. That no family can rise above subsistence without access to energy. If there are two things that I would like to leave you with today, it's this. Energy poverty is a gender issue. That it's women and girls who are most affected by the lack of electricity. That they are disproportionately harmed by having no access to light, whether it is because they're indoors cooking by light from kerosene lamps that is toxic and unsafe and hurts their lungs, causes up to 2 million deaths per year, or if it's because in giving birth without light, their nurse holding a cell phone in her mouth so that she can see to help the woman give birth. But I also want you to remember this. Energy prosperity is also a gender issue. It is women who hold the key to a prosperous and renewable future. And that's because when you take a look at the off-grid energy market, and that's a $1 trillion market today, $1 trillion spent annually on energy off the grid. And you look at who is the consumer of that off-grid market. The consumer is a woman. It's a woman in a household in rural Africa buying kerosene, $2 at a time every week to provide light for her family. And so if we're going to change the outcome, if we are going to change from energy poverty to a story of energy prosperity, it's that woman that we need to reach. It is that woman that we need to make sure she makes the decision, instead of buying $2 worth of kerosene each week, to make a choice and purchase a market-based decision, not some philanthropy, not some government coming down and solving everyone's problem, but giving her the tool to make her own choice to choose a renewable future, to choose solar instead of kerosene. And it may seem to you, sitting here in Berlin, or to me in the US, that solar is a green luxury. People think of it that way. But in rural Africa, that's not the case, because what they're powering their lives with kerosene is thousands of times more expensive than our typical type of electricity. And for the price of a $20 lamp, she can provide 8 times more light than she gets out of spending $100 over the year in those $2 payments every week. And so it's an incredibly economic choice. At the base of the pyramid, where people spend up to 30% of their income just for light, for kerosene, to be able to choose a $20 lamp, save $100 over that year, spend that money typically for education, for better medical care, and for better food. And so my story today, and I could give you lots of facts and figures, and being a banker, I love data and I love analysis. And in a room full of, I think, German engineers, I suspect you also like statistics. And I could give you all that, but there would be something missing. Because what would be missing is we crave meaning and we crave story, and we want to know the purpose. We want the context of all those facts and figures. We look for the narrative in the facts, we look for the pattern in the numbers, and we look for the human face in the statistics. And so today I'm giving you a story of change, a story that goes from energy poverty to energy prosperity. And it's a story of light, and a story of hope, and a story of opportunity. The universe is made up of stories, not atoms. And so I will begin with a story. This is the story of rural Africa, where women comprise 70% of the rural base of the pyramid population, women and girls, living without access to electricity as we know it. They burn kerosene for light at night, inhaling smoke that's the equivalent of 2 packs of cigarettes every day. They use open fires for cooking and kerosene for light. In Africa, one of the things that I noticed was that women were the backbone of the household. They were the ones who cared for the house and took care of the utilities, what we think of as our utilities, light, water, cooking. And working with the women to provide a change, I found a woman who inspired me, a woman named Rebecca, who lives in a typical house in Mpigi, Uganda. It's a house with a thatched roof, mud walls, 4 rooms, split like this. And in those rooms, she has a room for her husband, who is the local pastor, and he meets his flock there. And her main room where she cooks her dinner, a room where they sleep. Her children have grown now, and so it's just her and her husband. And in the 4th room where she keeps her chickens to keep them safe from predators at night. We worked with Rebecca to bring solar to her home. And it was a small solar panel that we attached to the thatched roof and ran the wires inside, and it had 3 lights. It was a 3-light system, but she had a 4-room home. And so what will we do about that? Well, her husband, Charles, immediately said, 1 light for my room, 1 light for the main room, 1 light for the bedroom. But Rebecca was having none of that. Rebecca stood up and said, no, I come from the garden late at night. I need 1 light outside to light my way when I come home at night. I want 1 light in the main room where I spend hours cooking your dinner. And instead of breathing in kerosene, I need light to see by. And the 3rd light goes to our chickens. Because what Rebecca knew I didn't know, but what Rebecca knew is that chickens will only eat when they can see. And by giving the chickens 4 more hours of light, they ate more. They were healthier, and they laid more eggs. Well, Rebecca took those eggs to market, and she sold them, and she got money. Then she bought some vegetable seeds, and she planted a garden. And she grew that garden, and she harvested those vegetables, and she took those to market, and she got more money. And she bought a goat. And she took that goat, and it gave birth and had kids, and she took those goat kids to market and got more money and bought a cow. And over the years, Rebecca has prospered. And she now has a small farm, a very productive, very prosperous farm, all based on that single light, that light that she put in her chickens. And people around her town noticed and said, well, what is this? We have this farm. It is not prosperous like yours. What have you done? And she said, well, I have a light. I have empowered my chickens. And so from that single light, she began to teach her neighbors how to do small plot farming. And Rebecca now has a school where she teaches over 100 children, and she teaches them reading and writing and also small plot farming. And so the children are growing up and will have a prosperous future because they know how to live on their land. And Rebecca, in the last years, has started a school even for adults, and so women from the town come to her and come in the evening, and with the light from that bulb are able to learn to read. So Rebecca is changing her world with renewable energy. The next story is a story of hope. Now this one speaks particularly to me because Hope is a little girl about the same age as my daughter, 9 years old. In Uganda, there's a strong tradition of education, and so children go to school. Almost all children attend primary school. Hope is so excited to go to school in the mornings, but she comes home at night, and instead of getting right to her homework, she has to help her mother with chores. And she has to fetch water, collect wood, help with the dinner. And by the time dinner is finished and she starts to study, she studies with the light of a kerosene lamp, which burns her eyes, and after about 5 minutes, there's no more studying. Hope is one of millions of girls in rural Africa. But Hope is lucky because Hope's family bought a solar light, and so instead of studying with the light from the kerosene burning her eyes and going to school the next day unprepared and eventually dropping out of school because she just can't keep up, Hope with a solar light is able to study with her brothers at night. And together they are advancing in school and are going to continue on with their education and will be able to attend secondary school and beyond if she dreams. And so for Hope, having solar light is changing her life and will lead to a more prosperous future. And my third story is a story of opportunity. And this is really the story of Solar Sister, which is a community of women, a network of women that we have given opportunity, economic opportunity, to form small businesses, small solar businesses. We call it a business in a bag, where they sell solar lamps to their communities. The women earn money, and more importantly, they bring this technology, this life-changing technology, to the last mile. They are closing the gap of delivery. They form connections with people in their community, and the women, because they know their community so well, are able to know exactly who they can go to sell lamps, and they know how to sell those lamps. The reason we reached out to women to form this network, to form this enterprise, is because looking back at the customer, who's our customer? That $1 trillion market, 70% are women and girls. It's women who manage the household budget when it comes to the daily energy purchase. And it's women that we have to contact and connect with if we're going to change the behavior and have them purchase a solar lamp instead of kerosene, to make a choice that is better for their family and better for their future. We now have 156 entrepreneurs working throughout Uganda, Sudan, South Sudan, and Rwanda. And these women are delivering solar products like lights and cell phone chargers, to their communities, and will expand their inventory to include efficient cooking stoves and other household products. And so, if I leave you today, I want you to remember two things: that energy poverty is a gender issue. Women and girls are disproportionately affected by lack of electricity. But I also want you to remember that energy prosperity is a gender issue, and that women and girls are the key to a renewable and sustainable future. Thank you.